The emergency transmission crackled through layers of quantum encryption that hadn't been activated in 47,000 cycles. Keeper Jalvrex, whose crystalline body had witnessed the birth and death of 17 stellar generations, felt something he hadn't experienced since the Scream Wars: genuine fear. "This is Research Station Thuvanal, Outer Spiral Designation Theta 97, the voice chittered with barely controlled panic. "We have a Class Omega biological situation, requesting immediate archival consultation. Repeat, Class Omega." Jalvrex's prismatic surface flickered through colors that hadn't existed in modern linguistic databases. Class Omega, the classification reserved for entities that defied natural law. He extended a crystalline appendage toward the quantum ansible, his internal facets refracting light in patterns that translated to speech. Keeper Jalvrex responding, "Clarify nature of Class Omega designation." The pause lasted 3 heartbeats too long. The creature, it matches the entries from the Forbidden Chronicles: physical composition, carbon-based, bilateral symmetry, bipedal locomotion, forward-facing eyes. It's been consuming Krevnash fruits for the past 20 minutes. 7 specimens. It's still conscious. It's still moving. By the old dark, Keeper, it's smiling. Jalvrex's entire structure went dark for a moment, every internal light extinguishing as ancient subroutines activated within his genetic lattice. Krevnash, the death apple. A single bite could crystallize the neural tissue of a Threnic in seconds. 2 bites could shut down the distributed consciousness of a hive sept. 3 bites had once been used to assassinate the eternal choir of Vexthalin, all 900 voices of them. 7 fruits, and it was smiling. "I'm transmitting visual data now." Dr. Venticor, Jalvrex recognized the voice now, one of the station's chief xenobiologists, continued. "Keeper, the old stories, could they be real?" The holographic display materialized, and Jalvrex saw it. Smooth skin without scales, chitin, or proper protective plating. Hair, individual protein filaments growing from the cranium in an absurd evolutionary waste of resources. 5-fingered manipulators that looked too delicate for any serious survival activity. The creature sat in a containment observation room, legs crossed in a posture that suggested complete relaxation, holding a purple fruit the size of its fist. The Krevnash's skin pulsed with the bioluminescent warning patterns that screamed death to every sentient species in the known galaxy. The creature took a bite, chewed, swallowed, then reached for another. "Prepare the station for my arrival," Jalvrex said, his voice light cutting through the transmission with absolute authority. "Seal all records under archival black protocol. No transmissions beyond your facility. And doctor? Do not, under any circumstance, agitate the specimen." "What is it, Keeper?" Jalvrex began the process of translocating his consciousness into a mobile crystalline matrix, something he hadn't done in millennia. "If the chronicles are accurate, Doctor, that is a human. And if it truly is a human, then we have significantly larger problems than fruit consumption." The journey through quantum-fold space gave Jalvrex time to access the deepest levels of the archives, the encrypted sections that most modern species didn't know existed. The Forbidden Chronicles weren't forbidden because they contained dangerous knowledge. They were forbidden because no one believed them anymore. They had become mythology, warnings from a paranoid age. But Jalvrex remembered. The crystalline race had long memories, encoded in their very structure, passed down through reformation after reformation. He pulled up entry 7843. The Persistence Hunters. They do not stop. This is their gift and their curse. Where other predators rely on speed or venom or overwhelming force, humans simply continue. They chase prey across continents until the prey's heart explodes from exhaustion. They survive wounds that would kill any other species through sheer metabolic stubbornness. They exist in environmental extremes that should render them inert. They are not the strongest. They are not the fastest. They are not the most intelligent, but they are the most relentless. Evolution has sculpted them into survival incarnate. Entry 12449, the adaptable. Poison them, they develop immunity. Starve them, they enter metabolic conservation states. Expose them to disease. Their immune systems learn and remember. They consume toxins for pleasure, calling it cuisine. They intentionally damage their muscle tissue to make it stronger, calling it exercise. They are a species that thrives on adversity, that grows stronger through hardship. They weaponize suffering. Entry 28,991, the Great Silence. 200,000 cycles ago they vanished. The humans who had reached every corner of the spiral arm, who had established peaceful contact with 1,700 species, who had shared technology and art and philosophy, they simply left. Their worlds remained, perfectly preserved but empty. Their vessels floated in orbital graveyards, systems powered down. No bodies, no violence, no explanation. The endurance predators had endured long enough, and then they stopped. Theories abound: transcendence, extinction, mass exodus to another dimension. But the truth remains: the galaxy's most adaptable species adapted themselves into absence. Jalvrex emerged from quantum-fold space at the edge of the Theta 97 system. Station Thuvnal hung in orbit around a dead star, a research facility dedicated to studying pre-silence artifacts. How grimly appropriate. His consciousness inhabited a mobile, crystalline form now, roughly humanoid in shape, an unconscious accommodation, he realized, to the species he was about to confront. He materialized on the station's main deck, where Dr. Venticor waited. The Threnix's chitinous plating was pale with stress, his 6 limbs trembling. "Keeper, thank the ancient songs you've arrived. It's eaten 3 more. 10 total. Our medical synthesizers have been running continuous analysis, and the toxin levels in its bloodstream should have killed it 70 times over." "Show me." They moved through corridors that hummed with outdated technology. Station Thuvnal had been established during the Age of Expansion, when exploration meant everything. Now it served as a quiet backwater for researchers who preferred isolation. Until today, the observation deck overlooked a containment chamber designed for classified dangerous specimens. Redundant force fields, atmosphere control, automated defense systems, none of it mattered. Inside, the creature that might be human sat at a simple table, examining another Krevnash fruit with genuine curiosity. "Fascinating," Jalvrex breathed, his form pulsing with analytical light patterns. "The physiological structure matches perfectly. The skeletal framework, the muscular configuration, the cranial capacity. It's exactly as the chronicles described. We found it in a derelict vessel," Dr. Venticor explained, his translator implant rendering his clicks and chitters into galactic common. "Outer rim debris field. The ship was old, pre-silence old. It had some kind of cryostasis pod still functioning. When we breached the vessel, the pod's emergency protocols activated, and out came that. Have you communicated with it?" "Yes, it speaks, or rather, it learned our language in approximately 4 hours. 4 hours, Keeper. It listened to our communications, extrapolated linguistic patterns, and achieved conversational fluency before our translators could fully calibrate. The speed of pattern recognition is terrifying," Jalvrex finished. "Yes, that matches the records." Inside the chamber, the creature looked up suddenly, directly at the observation window. It shouldn't have been able to see through the one-way field, but its eyes, those forward-facing, binocular vision predator's eyes, locked onto Jalvrex's position with unsettling accuracy. It smiled, waved, held up the Krevnash fruit in what seemed to be a friendly gesture. "It's been trying to share them," Dr. Venticor whispered, horrified. "It thinks they're delicious." A younger researcher, a luminth named Kixtara, whose phosphorescent skin flickered with anxiety, approached with a data tablet. "Doctor, The synthesis is complete. The antidote should neutralize the Krevnash toxins, assuming we can convince it to ingest the compound, though given what we've observed about its metabolism. Prepare it anyway, Jalvrex commanded. If nothing else, the gesture may communicate our concern for its welfare. Open a communication channel. The speakers activated with a soft chime. The creature's head tilted in a gesture that somehow conveyed curiosity despite the alien features. "Hello," it said, and its voice was wrong in a way Jalvrex couldn't immediately identify. Not threatening, just fundamentally other. "Are you the new researchers? The crystalline one? You're beautiful. I've never seen anything like you." Dr. Venticor's translator struggled with the tonal complexity. Humans apparently communicated as much through vocal inflection as through words. "I am Keeper Jalvrex, archivist of the Third Reformation. I am here to ensure your well-being. We are concerned about your consumption of the Krevnash fruits." "Oh, these," the creature held up the purple fruit. "They're amazing, a little spicy, kind of like cinnamon mixed with something metallic, but the aftertaste is incredible. Reminds me of..." It paused and something flickered across its face. Sadness? Loss? "Reminds me of home, I think. It's hard to remember exactly." The Krevnash is classified as a Class A lethal biotoxin across 40,000 star systems, Jalvrex explained carefully. A single specimen contains enough poison to terminate a Thrennic's neural functions within seconds. The creature blinked, looked at the fruit, looked back at Jalvrex. "Really? Huh, they're pretty tasty for poison." It took another bite, chewed thoughtfully, swallowed. "I mean, I felt a little tingle at first, but I just figured that was the spice. You know how some foods have that burn, like hot peppers or wasabi?" Dr. Venticor made a sound that the translator rendered as whimpering. "What?" the creature asked, suddenly concerned. "What's wrong? Did I break some kind of cultural taboo? I'm sorry, I've been asleep for... I don't actually know how long. Everything's different. The constellations are wrong. The species I recognize don't exist anymore. I'm just trying to figure out where I am." Jalvrex felt his crystalline matrix resonate with something uncomfortably close to empathy. This being, alone, confused, separated from everything it knew by an incomprehensible gulf of time, was trying to be friendly, trying to connect, trying to survive in the only way it knew how, by adapting. "We are attempting to help you," Jalvrex said gently. "We have prepared a medicinal compound that should neutralize the toxins you've consumed. Dr. Venticor will administer it shortly." "That's really kind of you, but I feel fine. Better than fine, actually. I was pretty groggy when I first woke up, but after eating a few of these, I feel great, energized. Maybe the nutrients are doing something good." Kixtara pulled up a holographic display of the creature's bloodstream analysis. "Keeper, it's metabolizing the toxins, not neutralizing them, using them. The Krevnash poison is being broken down into component molecules and integrated into its cellular structure. It's converting lethal compounds into functional energy substrates." "Evolution," Jalvrex murmured. "They evolved on a death world." "They had to. Nothing else could have created this level of biological resilience." Dr. Venticor clutched the antidote injector with 3 of his 6 limbs, mandibles clicking in distress. "I need to attempt administration, for the records, for the protocols, for my own sanity." "Proceed, but carefully." The doctor entered the containment chamber through a series of sealed airlocks. The creature, it had given its designation as Kade during initial contact, stood immediately, backing away with hands raised in a non-threatening gesture. "Hey, it's okay. I'm not dangerous. I know I must look weird to you, probably as weird as you look to me, and you look really weird, by the way, but like fascinating weird." "Are those compound eyes? How many visual spectrums can you see? Do you experience time differently because of the multiple image processing?" "Sorry, I'm rambling. I do that when I'm nervous." Dr. Venticor approached slowly, holding the injector like a sacred relic. Please, honored guest, we have prepared this medicinal compound for your protection. The Krevnash toxins are lethal to all known biological forms. We fear for your safety. Kade looked at the injector, then at the fruit bowl containing 3 more death apples, then back at the doctor. Genuine confusion crossed his features. I appreciate the concern, really, but I don't think I need medicine. I don't feel sick at all. You have consumed enough poison to eliminate a small colony. Your survival is improbable. Look, I get that you're worried, but... Kade reached over, picked up another Krevnash, and took a large, deliberate bite. Juice ran down his chin as he chewed, maintaining eye contact with Dr. Venticor the entire time. He swallowed. See, I'm totally fine. These are just fruit to me. Weird, spicy fruit, but fruit. The medical scanner on Dr. Venticor's thorax began screaming alerts. The doctor's entire body went rigid with shock. Impossible, he whispered. Your cellular activity just increased. The toxin exposure is making you healthier. What manner of creature are you? Kade's expression shifted, something uncertain entering his eyes. I'm just a person. My name is Kade. I'm from Earth. I was part of the Long Sleep Initiative. We were supposed to wake up when... He trailed off, looking at the observation window. At Jalvrex. How long was I asleep? Jalvrex's form pulsed with colors that meant truth-telling, witness-bearing, the end of an age. According to our temporal calculations, approximately 200,000 cycles. What you call years, I believe. Kade sat down hard, the fruit forgotten in his hand. 200, everyone I knew. Everything I knew. It's all... Gone, Jalvrex confirmed softly. The humans vanished from known space exactly that long ago. You are the first we have encountered since the Great Silence. But I can't be the last, Kade said, voice hollow. The initiative involved millions, entire worlds in cryosleep. We were supposed to wake up together to give the galaxy time to... He looked up sharply. Where are the others? We don't know. The human worlds remain abandoned but intact. The vessels float in silent orbits. You are the first to wake. Or perhaps the first we've found. Dr. Venticor, still holding the useless antidote, made a decision. He triggered his emergency beacon. Not for distress, but for assembly. Within moments, the observation deck filled with Station Thuvnal's entire research staff. 17 species, 43 individuals, all crowding to see the impossible. A legend made flesh. A myth eating poisoned fruit. A human. Kade stood again, apparently uncomfortable with being seated while others stood. A social instinct from a species that valued equality, Jalvrex noted. The human looked at the assembled crowd of aliens, each one so different from him, so foreign. But instead of fear or aggression, his expression held only curiosity, openness, hope. Hi, everyone, he said, waving awkwardly. I'm Kade. Apparently I eat poison fruit now. Who knew? Then the station's emergency protocols activated. Ancient code, buried in the facility's foundational systems, suddenly came online. Lights shifted from standard white to deep crimson. Security barriers slammed down across corridors. Warning klaxons blared in frequencies that hurt even Jalvrex's crystalline hearing. And a voice, female presenting, calm, absolutely terrifying in its ancient authority, resonated through every speaker. Species classification confirmed. Homo sapiens. Common designation, human. Threat level, Omega+. Initiating containment protocols from Archive Year 784-329. All personnel maintain minimum safe distance of 50 meters. Automated defense systems activating. Lethal force authorized. Weapons ports opened in the walls. Plasma cannons emerged from ceiling mounts. Energy barriers reinforced around the containment chamber, their density increasing to levels that could hold a micro-singularity. Kade looked around at the suddenly hostile environment, the fruit still in his hand, confusion and hurt written clearly on his face. Antidote for what? He asked quietly, more to himself than anyone else. Then he looked at Dr. Venticor, at Jalvrex, at all the assembled researchers who had gone from curious to terrified in seconds. What did I do wrong? Jalvrex moved forward, positioning himself between the weapons and the observation window. His form blazed with light patterns that meant stop, cease, override. Station AI, identify yourself, the voice responded immediately. Epoch Mind Tal Shara, activated. Security protocols from the Age of Legends now in effect. Keeper Jalvrex, you are in proximity to an apex tier entity. Historical records indicate a 97% probability of catastrophic incident when humans interface with younger species. Evacuation recommended. Tal Shara, Jalvrex said, forcing calm into his light speech. The human shows no hostile intent. Deactivate weapons systems. Negative. Intent is irrelevant. Capability defines threat level. Historical precedent. Battle of Kreshnal Minor, where a single human diplomatic envoy accidentally triggered a diplomatic incident that collapsed an entire stellar federation. Incident at Vork Station, where human helping resulted in the unintentional extinction of a parasitic species that was actually a protected class. The humans don't mean harm, they simply cause it through existing. They are too dangerous, too capable, too relentlessly effective at survival. They must be contained. Inside the chamber, Kade had dropped the fruit. His hands were raised, body language screaming non-threat, but his eyes were scanning, calculating, looking for exits, for weaknesses, for solutions. The predator's instinct, activating despite his conscious desire for peace. Jalvrex saw it, recognized it, and understood with crystalline clarity why the ancient protocols existed. Humans were dangerous not because they were aggressive, but because they were competent, because they solved problems, because they survived. And right now, Kade's problem was being trapped in a hostile environment. Everyone remain calm, Jalvrex commanded. Tal Shara, I am invoking Archival Override 777, the Keeper's word. Stand down. A pause, long enough for the plasma cannons to hum with building charge. Then, override accepted. Weapons systems disengaging, containment protocols reduced to minimum safe parameters. But Keeper, you have activated protocols that have not been invoked in 200,000 cycles. You are accepting responsibility for a human. Do you understand the historical weight of this decision? Jalvrex looked at Kade, confused, alone, eating poison fruit because it reminded him of a home that no longer existed, trying desperately to be friendly in a galaxy that feared him. I understand, Jalvrex said, and I accept responsibility. The weapons retracted, the barriers dimmed, the lights returned to normal, and Kade, slowly lowering his hands, looked at Jalvrex with an expression that might have been gratitude, or might have been exhaustion, or might have been both. So, the human said, reaching down to pick up the dropped fruit, dusting it off and taking another bite. Anyone want to explain what just happened? Because I'm still pretty confused about the whole antidote thing. Dr. Venticor looked at the injector in his claws, then at the human casually consuming his 11th dose of lethal poison, then at Keeper Jalvrex. The legends live, the doctor whispered. Yes, Jalvrex agreed, and we must decide what that means for all of us. The conference chamber had been hastily converted into something between a diplomatic suite and a high-security briefing room. Kade sat at one end of an elongated table that had been synthesized to accommodate 17 different species' anatomical requirements. He looked distinctly uncomfortable, like someone who'd shown up to a formal dinner in casual clothes. Jalvrex occupied the head of the table, his crystalline form refracting the ambient light into rainbow patterns across the walls. Dr. Venticor perched to his right, mandibles still clicking nervously. The rest of Station Thuvanal's research staff filled the remaining positions, a gallery of alien physiologies united by shared curiosity and carefully suppressed terror. So, Kade said, breaking the awkward silence, 200,000 years. That's That's a lot of time. He ran a hand through his hair, that bizarre protein filament covering, in what Jalvrex's cultural databases identified as a stress response. Can someone explain what happened? Where did everyone go? Tal Shara's voice emanated from the central holographic projector, her presence now manifesting as a nebula of soft blue light. The Great Silence. Your species initiated a coordinated exodus from known space at approximately Galactic Standard Year 584-329. No warning, no explanation. Within a single solar cycle, every human settlement, every vessel, every outpost went dark. But not destroyed, Kade asked, leaning forward with that unsettling focus Jalvrex was beginning to recognize. The human brain, even relaxed, was constantly processing, analyzing, solving. Intact, Jalvrex confirmed. Perfectly preserved. As if your species simply decided to stop existing in this region of space. The prevailing theory has been transcendence, that humans evolved beyond physical form, or perhaps dimensional exodus. We genuinely don't know. Kade's laugh was bitter. Transcendence. Right, we could barely get our act together for the long sleep initiative, and that took 40 years of political negotiation. He paused, something shifting in his expression. Wait. The initiative. The whole point was to give younger species time to develop without human interference. We were supposed to sleep for 10,000 years, then wake up gradually, integrate peacefully. Did we actually do it? Kixtara's phosphorescent skin pulsed with excited patterns. You're saying your entire species voluntarily entered cryostasis? Billions of individuals? Across hundreds of worlds? That was the plan. Humans were too good at everything. Wherever we went, we accidentally dominated. Not because we meant to, we genuinely wanted peaceful coexistence, but because we adapted faster, solved problems quicker, survived conditions that killed everyone else. We were like ecological invasives, but in space. Kade's voice carried genuine pain. So the Council of Continuity proposed the long sleep. We'd remove ourselves from the equation, let other species flourish, then return when the galaxy had matured enough that our presence wouldn't be so disruptive. Dr. Venticor's entire body had gone still. That's the most altruistic genocide I've ever heard of. Not genocide, just a really long nap. Kade smiled weakly. Guess my pod malfunctioned. Woke up. Early to a galaxy that forgot we existed. That's embarrassing. Not forgot, Jalvrex corrected. Mythologized. Your species became legend. The endurance predators, the persistence hunters, the ones who adapted to everything, survived anything, and then vanished like smoke. And ate poison fruit, added a researcher from the back, a Siltherin whose membrane-based biology made them particularly sensitive to toxins. That part's very impressive and very disturbing. Kade picked up one of the Krevnash fruits that someone had, perhaps unwisely, left on the table in a bowl. These really aren't that bad. You guys want to try one? I could cut it into small pieces. Maybe your systems could handle a tiny dose? The collective recoil was immediate and visceral. Please don't, Dr. Venticor said quickly. We appreciate the offer, but that's effectively you offering to share a nice meal of concentrated cyanide. Huh. Kade examined the fruit thoughtfully. I wonder what my tolerance levels are now. After 200,000 years of stasis, did my immune system reset? Or is this just normal human baseline? He took a bite, chewed analytically. Tastes the same as the first one. Maybe slightly sweeter? Talshara's projection flickered with what might have been exasperation. You're conducting toxicology experiments on yourself during a first contact scenario. What? No, I'm just eating fruit and thinking out loud. Though I guess that is kind of an experiment. Kade's expression brightened. Oh, I used to be a biologist. Well, xenobiologist technically, but we didn't have many aliens to study back then. I was part of the initiative's ecological assessment team. We analyzed potential worlds for the sleep. places that could maintain the cryo facilities without intelligent oversight for 10 millennia. His face fell, which, again, apparently turned into 20 times that long. Wow, I really overslept. Jalvrex felt something shift in the room's atmosphere. The fear wasn't gone, but it was being joined by something else: curiosity, scientific interest. The same impulse that had driven these researchers to the edges of known space was now focused on the impossible creature eating impossible poison and discussing biology. Kade, Jalvrex said carefully, would you be willing to undergo some non-invasive medical scans? We could learn a great deal about human physiology, and perhaps help you understand your own capabilities in this new era. The human's eyes lit up. Another predator feature, Jalvrex noted, the way those pupils dilated with interest. Absolutely. I'd love to understand what's happening with the whole poison fruit thing, and maybe you could help me figure out if there are other humans still out there. In cryosleep, if my pod failed, maybe others did too, or maybe the wake-up protocols just haven't triggered yet. We could organize search expeditions, Kixtara suggested, their bioluminescence pulsing with enthusiasm. Map human. Cryo facilities across the spiral arm. It would be the archaeological discovery of the millennium. Millennium nothing, Dr. Venticor said, warming to the idea despite his earlier terror. This would rewrite galactic history, the return of the humans, the legends made real. Let's not get ahead of ourselves, Tal Shara interjected, her tone carrying the weight of eons. Before we plan expeditions, we need to address the immediate concern. What happens when the galaxy learns a human is awake? The younger species have no context for your kind. The old powers like the crystalline and the epic minds remember enough to be cautious. But there are thousands of civilizations who know humans only as myth, as cautionary tales, as the species so powerful they had to remove themselves from reality. Kade had gone very still. You're saying I'm a PR nightmare? I'm saying, Tal Shara continued gently, that your existence will cause panic. Not because of what you'll do, but because of what the stories say you can do. Then we control the narrative, Jalvrex said firmly. We document, we demonstrate, we prove that humans are not the unstoppable force of nature the myths suggest. Kade took another bite of fruit. Swallowed, looked at the assembled aliens. Except I kind of am, aren't I? I mean, I'm literally eating deadly poison like it's a snack. And earlier, when those weapons activated, I was already planning 3 different escape routes and 2 ways to disable the containment field. I wasn't even thinking about it consciously. My brain just did it. That's not normal, is it? The silence stretched uncomfortably. No, Jalvrex admitted. That's not normal. That's exceptional. And exceptional beings, throughout galactic history, tend to become either saviors or threats. Often both simultaneously. Before anyone could respond, Tal Shara's projection flared red. Emergency alert, containment breach in biological storage level 7. Void Striders have escaped confinement. Multiple casualties reported, security teams responding. Dr. Venticor shot to his feet, all 6 limbs moving in agitated patterns. That's impossible. Void Striders are Class 8 entities. The containment protocols require 3-layer quantum shielding and constant electromagnetic suppression. What could have? Irrelevant, Tal Shara snapped. They're loose, and they're phasing through standard barriers. Estimate 6 minutes before they reach populated sections. Jalvrex accessed the security feeds, his crystalline matrix processing the visual data with archival precision. The Void Striders manifested as shadows that didn't quite align with light sources, darkness that moved with purpose. They slipped through walls, through floors, through the very fabric of normal space. Anything organic they touched began to corrupt, cells reorganizing into wrong configurations as the parasitic entities possessed their hosts. A Luminth security officer, touched by a Strider, stopped, running, turned, attacked his companions with newly formed claws that definitely hadn't existed moments before. We need to evacuate the station, Dr. Venticor said, voice high with panic. Void Striders are extinction-level threats. A single entity once consumed an entire colony moon. 6 loose in enclosed space? We're all dead. Evacuation protocols initiated, Talshara confirmed. But estimates suggest the Striders will reach the docking bays before half the personnel can escape. We don't have enough time. Kade stood. The movement was fluid, controlled, and somehow predatory despite the casual nature of the gesture. What kills them? He asked simply. Everyone turned to stare. I'm sorry, Jalvrek said. The Striders. What kills them? They're organisms, right? Biological entities? Everything biological has vulnerabilities. They're partially extra-dimensional, Kixtara explained, speaking quickly. They exist simultaneously in our space and another plane. Physical weapons pass through them. Energy weapons affect them but can't destroy them permanently. The only proven method of elimination is quantum resonance annihilation, and we don't have that technology on this station. But they interact with organic matter, Kade pressed. They possess hosts. That means they need to fully manifest in our dimension to actually affect things, right? So there's a moment of vulnerability during the transition. Dr. Venticor's mandibles clicked thoughtfully despite his terror. Theoretically, yes, but that moment lasts microseconds. You'd need to predict exactly when and where they'd manifest, then strike during that infinitesimal window. Kade smiled. It wasn't a pleasant expression. It was the expression of a predator recognizing prey. I can do that. Absolutely not, Jalvrek said immediately. You're a civilian, an awakened legend, yes, but not a soldier, not a hunter. Keeper, with respect, you're wrong. Kade's voice had changed, losing its uncertain friendliness and gaining something harder, ancient. Humans are always hunters. That's what we evolved to be. We chased prey across continents for days until they collapsed from exhaustion. We tracked migrations across seasons. We predicted behavior, adapted tactics, learned patterns. And more than that, we learned to hunt things that hunted us. We turned prey animals into hunting partners. We made tools that extended our kill range from arm's length to kilometers. We took predator species and made them into friends. He looked at the security feed, watching the Striders phase through another wall. These things, they're just another predator. And humans are really, really good at hunting predators. Talshara's projection had gone very still. You're suggesting you hunt 6 Void Striders, alone, with no weapons, in an environment you don't know, against entities that have destroyed civilizations. I'm suggesting I try, because everyone else is going to die if I don't. Kade turned to Dr. Venticor. What do you have on this station that could disrupt extra-dimensional phase states, even temporarily? The doctor's mind, despite his fear, was already working the problem. Electromagnetic pulse grenades. They're designed for equipment disruption, but the quantum field collapse might force the Striders into full manifestation for a few seconds. Perfect. What about physical weapons? Something with range and stopping power. Plasma carbines, kinetic rail pistols, molecular disruption rifles. Dr. Venticor paused. Wait, you don't even know how to use our weapon systems. Kade's smile widened. Show me once, I'll figure it out. And there it was, the thing that made humans terrifying. Not their strength or speed or durability, but their ability to learn, to adapt, to take any tool and make it a weapon, to face the unknown and immediately start planning how to kill it. Jalvrex made a decision that he knew he'd be analyzing for the rest of his existence. Talshara, revoke containment protocols on the human. Dr. Venticor, take him to the armory. Everyone else, continue evacuation procedures. And Kade. The human looked at him, and Jalvrex saw 200,000 years of evolution looking back. Don't die. You're the only one of your kind awake, and the galaxy is going to need answers when this is over. I'll do my best, Kade said, then added, with that strange human humor even in crisis. Though if I do die, tell people I went out saving a station while eating poison fruit. That's a pretty good legacy. He grabbed one more Krevnash from the bowl and took a bite as he followed Dr. Venticor out of the conference room. The armory was a compact space filled with weapons designed for various alien physiologies. Kade examined each one with quick, efficient movements, his hands, those five-fingered manipulators that had seemed so delicate, handling the weapons with practiced ease. "This one," he said, hefting a kinetic rail pistol. "Recoilless, magnetic acceleration, no complex targeting AI to learn. Point and shoot. I can work with this." He grabbed an electromagnetic pulse grenade, turned it over, found the activation mechanism. Simple trigger, dead man's switch safety, good design. Dr. Ventacor watched in fascination as the human, who had been using this technology for less than 10 minutes, instantly understood operational principles that took other species months to master. "How are you doing that?" the doctor asked. "Doing what?" "Understanding the weapons. You haven't used them. You haven't had training." Kade looked genuinely confused by the question. "They're tools. Tools have logical design principles. Grip here for leverage, trigger here for activation. Power source connects like this. It's just pattern recognition." He loaded the pistol with smooth efficiency, like he'd done it 1,000 times before. "Humans have been making weapons for hundreds of thousands of years. The technology changes, but the principles stay the same. You make something that extends your reach and increases your force. Everything else is just variations on that theme." He strapped on an equipment harness, another alien design he'd figured out in seconds, and loaded it with grenades, spare ammunition, and a molecular disruption knife that he'd apparently chosen for close encounters. "Stay in the armory," Kade instructed. "Lock the door. If something comes through that door that isn't me or another researcher, assume it's possessed and don't open up. Understood?" Dr. Ventacor wanted to argue. Wanted to say that civilians don't give orders, that humans don't get to walk into danger alone, that this was madness. But he looked at Kade, really looked, and saw something that made his evolutionary hindbrain scream warnings. The human's posture had changed. The movements were fluid, economical, purposeful. The friendly confusion was gone, replaced by cold calculation. This wasn't a lost survivor anymore. This was a persistence hunter about to begin the chase. "Understood," Dr. Ventacor whispered. Kade nodded once, checked his weapons a final time, and headed into the corridor, toward the screaming, toward the darkness, toward the predators who'd never encountered something higher on the food chain. Jalvrex monitored the security feeds with growing horror and fascination. Kade moved through Station Thuvanal's corridors like liquid death. Every movement served a purpose. He never ran, just maintained a steady, relentless pace that covered ground efficiently while conserving energy. The human had somehow acquired a map of the station's layout and had immediately identified optimal ambush points, bottlenecks, and defensive positions. He was herding the Void Striders, deliberately making noise to attract them, drawing them into killing zones of his own design. The first Strider phased through a wall directly in front of him. Kade had been waiting. The electromagnetic pulse grenade was already primed, already thrown. It detonated mid-air, and for a brief second, the Strider fully manifested, all writhing shadow and wrong angles and too many appendages. Kade shot it 14 times before it could phase out again. The kinetic rounds, moving at hypersonic speeds, punched through the creature's partially materialized form. It shrieked, a sound that existed in frequencies Jalvrex couldn't properly process, and dissolved into rapidly evaporating ectoplasm. "One down," Kade said calmly, reloading while moving. Always moving. "Tal Shara, where are the others?" The AI's voice held something that might have been admiration. "Two converging on your position from the north corridor, one hunting through the residential deck, two still in biological storage, consuming the bodies of fallen security personnel. The ones eating will be distracted. I'll hit them next." Kade changed direction, his internal navigation apparently flawless, despite having been on the station for less than a day. "Tell the residential deck security to seal that section and vent the atmosphere. Void Striders need organic hosts. Without hosts, they're vulnerable." That's actually correct," Tal Shara admitted. "How did you know that?" They're parasites. Parasites always need hosts. It's basic ecological strategy. He moved like he'd been hunting void striders his entire life. Like he'd been hunting everything his entire life. Because in a way, he had. Humans had spent their entire evolutionary history learning to hunt, learning to kill, learning to survive by being better predators than anything else on their world. And now that world was gone, but the predator remained. The two striders from the North Corridor phased through the ceiling simultaneously, attempting to flank him. But Kade was already rolling, the grenade already tumbling through the air, and when it detonated, he was shooting before the creatures fully understood they'd been outsmarted. They died thrashing, their otherworldly biology unable to cope with the simple, brutal efficiency of kinetic rounds through vital organs. 3 down, Kade reported, breathing hard but still moving. Heading to biological storage, Jalvrex watched the human descend through maintenance shafts, choosing paths that kept him above the Strider's expected positions. Kade was thinking three-dimensionally, using the station's architecture as a weapon. When he reached biological storage, he didn't attack immediately. He watched, learned. The two remaining Striders were indeed feeding on fallen personnel, their forms more substantial as they gorged on organic matter. Kade whispered to himself, talking through the problem, a human trait the archives had documented. More solid when feeding, need hosts to maintain manifestation. If I can separate them, they'll be vulnerable during the rephasing transition. He threw a piece of debris, just a metal panel, to the far side of the room. One Strider's attention snapped to the noise. Predator instinct. Responding to movement, it phased through equipment toward the sound. The moment it was isolated, Kade struck. Grenade to force manifestation. Pistol to wound. Molecular disruption knife when it tried to flee. The blade cutting through its phased form during the transition, causing catastrophic dimensional collapse. It died screaming. The final Strider, realizing it was being hunted, tried to escape. It phased through walls, through floors, moving randomly to avoid prediction. But Kade didn't need to predict where it would go. He just needed to be patient, to be relentless, to continue pursuing until the prey made a mistake. The Strider manifested in a corridor junction, trying to possess a fleeing researcher. Kade was there, had been waiting in 3 different potential ambush points, covering all probable escape routes. "Sorry," he said quietly, then pulled the trigger. The last Void Strider dissolved into harmless particles. Silence fell across Station Thuvnal. Kade stood in the corridor, surrounded by the ectoplasmic remains of entities that had destroyed civilizations, breathing hard, covered in various fluids that probably shouldn't exist in normal space-time. "All hostiles eliminated," he reported to Tal Shara, requesting medical teams for wounded personnel and cleanup crews for all of this. Jalvrex, watching through the security feeds, felt his crystalline matrix pulse with colors that meant revelation, understanding, terrible clarity. This was what humans were. Not evil, not even particularly violent by nature, just relentlessly, horrifyingly competent. Give them a problem and they'd solve it. Give them a threat and they'd eliminate it. Give them a puzzle, and they'd deconstruct it until it made sense. They were survivors, elevated to an art form, and the galaxy had forgotten. The aftermath took hours. Medical teams treated the wounded. Cleanup crews dealt with the remains. Security protocols were reviewed and revised. And through it all, Kade helped. He carried wounded researchers to the medical bay despite being exhausted. He gave statements to investigators despite having no legal obligation to do so. He even helped repair damaged systems, his adaptable brain quickly learning the basics of station engineering. When it was finally over, he returned to the conference chamber and collapsed into a chair. Jalvrex found him there an hour later, asleep at the table, still clutching one of the Krevnash fruits. Dr. Venticor entered quietly behind the keeper. Is he actually sleeping? After all that? Humans require periodic unconsciousness to process memories and restore neural function, Tal Shara explained softly. It's a vulnerability, but also a necessity. Even legends need rest. Kade stirred, opening his eyes. Sorry, didn't mean to pass out. Long day. He took a bite of the fruit, apparently had been holding it while sleeping. Did everyone make it? 11 wounded. No fatalities. Jalvrek settled across from him, light patterns gentle. Thanks to you. I just did what needed doing. Kade looked genuinely uncomfortable with the attention. Anyone could have— No, Dr. Venticore interrupted firmly. No, they couldn't have. 6 Void Striders, Kade. 6 entities that have destroyed entire fleets, and you eliminated them in under an hour with weapons you'd never used before, in an environment you didn't know, against opponents whose biology you didn't understand. That's not what needed doing. That's human, Tal Shara finished. That's what your species is. Problem solvers, survivors, hunters who became so effective at hunting that you had to remove yourselves from the galaxy to give everyone else a chance. Kade's expression was complicated. Pride mixed with sadness, satisfaction mixed with guilt. We never wanted to be scary. We just wanted to explore, to meet new people, to learn about the universe. And you terrified them, Jalvrek said gently. Not through malice, but through competence. Every challenge you encountered, you overcame. Every problem you faced, you solved. Every threat you met, you defeated. You were too good at existing. So we went to sleep. Kade finished the fruit, tossed the core into a recycling port. Let the galaxy grow up without us. Come back when things were more balanced. Except I woke up early, ate some poison fruit, and saved a research station from horror monsters. That's going to be a weird paragraph in the history books. You're going to be more than a paragraph, Kix-Tara said, entering the chamber with a data slate. I've been compiling the incident reports. Do you know what the younger species are going to think when they hear about this? That humans are dangerous, Kade guessed. That humans are back, and if one human could do this, what could a billion do? Kix-Tara's bioluminescence pulsed with nervous excitement. You're not just a legend anymore, Kade. You're proof that the legends were real, that somewhere out there, your people are sleeping, waiting, and when they wake up, the galaxy is going to change. Kade stood, walked to the observation window overlooking the dead star. Then we need to make sure they wake up to something good, a galaxy that doesn't fear them, that doesn't see them as threats or saviors, but as people. Weird people who eat poison fruit and hunt things they probably shouldn't, but still just people. How do we do that? Dr. Venticore asked. We start small. We document. We demonstrate. We prove that humans can coexist with everyone else. Kade turned and his smile was genuine. We show them that the scary thing about humans isn't that we're good at surviving. It's that we're good at helping others survive too. We're pack-bonding morons who adopt everything we meet and try to keep it safe. We don't hunt for sport. We hunt threats, and then we protect what's ours. Is that what we are now? Jalvrek asked. Yours to protect? If you'll have me, yeah. You pulled me out of a debris field, fed me fruit that should have killed me, trusted me when your own system said I was dangerous. That makes you pack, and humans protect their pack. He looked around at the assembled aliens, insectoid, crystalline, phosphorescent, and stranger still. So yeah, you're stuck with me until we find the others. Hope you don't mind. Dr. Venticore's mandibles clicked in what Jalvrek had learned to recognize as laughter. Mind. Kade, you just saved the entire station. You could demand anything and we'd give it to you. Then I demand you stop treating these like deadly poison and try one. Kade pulled out another Krevnash, held it up. Come on, live dangerously, just a tiny bite. The collective recoil was immediate. Absolutely not, everyone said in unison. Kade laughed, genuine, warm, human laughter, and bit into the fruit himself. Your loss. These are delicious. Tal Shara's projection manifested, fully, her nebulous form coalescing into something resembling a wise, ancient face. Kade, son of Earth, last waking human of the long sleep, what happens now? Now. Kade looked at the fruit, at the research station, at the strange new galaxy he'd woken to. Now we find my people. We wake them carefully. We reintroduce humans to a galaxy that's had 200,000 years to develop without us. And we do it right this time. No accidents, no unintended consequences, no terrifying everyone by being too good at everything. And if the galaxy fears you anyway? Jalvrex asked. Kade's expression was determined. Then we prove we're worth knowing anyway. Humans are good at adapting, remember. We'll adapt to being legends. We'll adapt to being myths made real. We'll adapt to being the scary thing that chose to be kind. He took another bite of fruit. Besides, I've got at least a few years before anyone else wakes up. Plenty of time to work on the whole not being terrifying thing. You're eating poison fruit while discussing peace initiatives, Dr. Venticor pointed out. That's not helping your case. Fair point. Kade set the fruit down, reconsidered, picked it back up and took another bite. But they are really good. And there it was, the perfect encapsulation of humanity, choosing to eat deadly poison because it tasted nice, while planning how to save a galaxy that had forgotten they existed. Terrifying and kind in equal measure, relentless survivors who used that relentlessness to protect rather than dominate. Jalvrex updated his personal archives with a new entry. The legends live. And they are kind. And they eat poison fruit because it reminds them of home. And they hunt monsters to protect species they met yesterday. And they adapt to everything, even to being myths. This is what humans are. Impossible, improbable, and absolutely irreversibly real. The galaxy will never be the same. And perhaps that's exactly what we needed. Outside the observation window, the dead star pulsed with faint light, radiation from ancient fusion still reaching across space long after the burning had stopped. Like humans, Jalvrex thought. Still reaching across time, still making their presence known, still refusing to be truly extinguished. The long sleep was ending, and the galaxy, ready or not, was about to remember what it meant when humans woke up. Kade finished his fruit, smiled at the assembled researchers, and asked the most human question possible. So anyone want to help me look for my people? I could use the company, and maybe some more of these fruits. I'm developing a real taste for them. Dr. Venticor clicked his mandibles in resigned amusement. Of course we'll help. We're packed now, apparently. Damn right you are, Kade agreed. And somewhere, in the cold dark between stars, millions of cryopods continued their silent vigil, waiting for the signal that would wake them to a galaxy that had become both stranger and more wonderful than they'd ever imagined. The legends were returning, one poison fruit at a time.